I really thought I had it all. For years, I was in what I thought was the perfect relationship. She was beautiful, smart, supportive, everything I ever dreamed of. Until she wasn't. Until late nights at work turned into lies. Until text messages from a colleague shattered everything I believed in. I didn't see it coming, or maybe I just didn't want to. Getting cheated on broke me in ways I didn't think were possible. I felt worthless, lost. But life has a strange way of rebuilding you when you least expect it. Because when I was at my lowest day, when I stopped believing in love, I accidentally ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Someone who used to mean something to me long before heartbreak turned me cold. This isn't a story about revenge. It's not about getting back at the person who hurt me. It's a story about healing. About finding real love in the most unexpected way. About learning that home isn't a place, it's a person. This is how losing the wrong person led me straight to the right one. They say hindsight is 20/20, and looking back now, I wonder how I didn't see the cracks forming right in front of me. For a long time, I thought I had it all. My name's Ryan. I'm 28 now, but this story starts when I was 24, young, stupidly optimistic, and hopelessly in love. Her name was Emily. God. Just saying her name used to give me butterflies. We met at a local coffee shop, both reaching for the same ridiculously overpriced Tom and croissant. She smiled. I smiled, and somehow, we ended up sitting at the same table talking for hours. Emily was the kind of girl that made other guys jealous. Beautiful in a quiet, effortless way. Long chestnut hair, green eyes that could stop time. And this laugh, I swear it could make any bad day disappear. We started dating within 2 weeks, and for the next 3 years, I was living the dream, or at least what I thought was a dream. She was sweet, supportive, funny, my biggest fan when I got promoted at my IT job. We traveled together, watched trashy Netflix shows, had stupid inside jokes that nobody else understood. She met my family. They loved her. I met hers. They adored me. We even talked about getting a place together, maybe even marriage down the line. I was stupid enough to believe people don't change. But life has a funny way of humbling you. The first signs I ignored looking back. The signs were all there, little things at first. Her phone was always on silent now. She started working late more often, saying her new project at work was really demanding. We stopped doing the little things. No more late night talks about nothing. No more spontaneous movie marathons or random pizza runs. I blamed myself at first. Maybe I've gotten boring. Maybe I'm not giving her enough attention. I doubled down. I bought her flowers for no reason. Cooked her favorite meals, even surprised her with a weekend getaway. She smiled, kissed me, said all the right words, but her eyes, God, her eyes felt distant. The beginning of the end. Then there was the texting. I'd catch her smiling at her phone, but when I'd ask who it was, she'd casually brush it off. Just some work stuff. Or worse, nobody important. Let me tell you something, when the person you love calls someone nobody important but can't stop smiling at their phone, that's when your stomach starts to turn. I wasn't ready to accept it yet. Denial is a hell of a drug, but reality has a way of kicking down the door. The moment everything shattered, that happened on a rainy Thursday. Emily was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't plan to look. Swear to God I didn't, but I saw his name. Alex W., a guy from her work. I'd met him once at her office Christmas party. Tall, charming, corporate Ken doll-looking guy. The preview on the message was what broke me. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. I remember just staring at the screen, heart pounding, hands shaking, cold sweat. The room spun. It was like living someone else's life. The confrontation when she came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, humming some song like nothing was wrong. I lost it. I asked her calmly, which looking back was insane considering the volcano inside me. How long? She froze. Her face went pale. Then came the tears, the apologies, the "it didn't mean anything," the "I didn't want to hurt you." But the worst part, she admitted it had been going on for months, behind my back, while I was planning our future. The breakup. I wish I could say I yelled through something, made some dramatic movie-worthy exit, but I didn't. I just packed a bag, told her I deserved better, and I left. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I cried in my car for what felt like hours, felt like a fool, felt like my whole world had crumbled. I didn't eat properly for days, could barely sleep. Work was torture. Seeing couples walking hand in hand made me sick. But the worst feeling, the emptiness, not anger, not even sadness, just numb, like I didn't know who I was without her. But this isn't where my story ends, because life, despite all its cruelty, sometimes throws you a lifeline when you least expect it. And for me, that lifeline came in the form of someone I hadn't seen in years. Her name was Lily, an old friend from high school, someone I always had a small crush on, but timing was never right. I bumped into her at a bookstore downtown, and that random meeting, that unexpected conversation, it would end up changing everything. It's funny how life works. Sometimes, when you feel like you're at your lowest day, completely wrecked, emotionally drained, and barely functioning, life throws you something unexpected. Something. Or someone. For me, that someone was Lily. A chance encounter. It had been about 3 weeks since I left Emily. 3 weeks of existing, not living. My apartment felt cold and unfamiliar. It wasn't home, it was just a place where I slept, if you could even call what I was doing sleep. Most nights I sat in the dark scrolling mindlessly through my phone, fighting the urge to text Emily, not because I wanted her back, I knew I didn't, but because breaking a routine that lasted years left me feeling completely lost. I wasn't ready to talk to anyone, not friends, not family, but life didn't care about that. It was a Sunday afternoon, cloudy skies, streets slick with rain. I forced myself outside because I couldn't handle staring at the same four walls anymore. Without thinking, I ended up downtown at this little independent bookstore I used to love. At the Paper Lantern. Quiet, smelled like coffee, old pages, and faint vanilla. I walked in, head down, hoodie up. I just wanted to disappear between the shelves, and then I heard a voice I hadn't heard in almost a decade. Run! The moment that hit different, I turned around, and there she was, Lily Evans. My heart stuttered in my chest. God! She looked even better than I remembered. Wavy blonde hair tied in a loose braid over her shoulder. Big, curious brown eyes that still had that sparkle of kindness. She wore this oversized cream sweater and jeans, simple, but effortlessly beautiful. We'd known each other in high school, always on the edge of being more than friends. But life got in the way. I went off to college in another state. She stayed local. We lost touch. Seeing her felt like breathing real air for the first time in weeks. The conversation that saved me. She smiled, that same genuine smile I remembered. "What are you doing here?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. I shrugged awkwardly, escaping my apartment. "And probably my life." She laughed softly, but then her smile faded a little. "That sounds heavy. You okay?" It wasn't fake concern. It wasn't small talk. It was Lily, real, honest, and warm. And maybe it was the way she asked. Maybe it was the timing. But for the first time since my world collapsed, I told someone the truth. "I'm not okay," I admitted quietly. Her face softened. "Do you want to talk about it?" Coffee and closure. We ended up sitting at this little table in the back of the store. 2 cups of coffee between us. And I told her everything. Not all at once, I wasn't ready for that, but enough. About Emily, about the betrayal, about how lost I felt. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She just listened. Really listened. And when I finished, she looked at me like I wasn't broken, like I was human, like I was worth saving. "I'm really sorry that happened to you," she said sincerely. "But can I tell you something?" I nodded. "I always thought Emily seemed distant. Back when you posted about her online, there was always something in your smile that looked forced." That hit me harder than I expected, because it was true. I had been faking happy for longer than I realized. A different kind of connection. We stayed there for hours, talking about everything: high school memories, our jobs, books we loved, places we wanted to travel. It felt effortless, natural, safe, and for the first time in weeks, maybe years, I laughed, really laughed, without bitterness, without pain, just me. Leaving with something new. When it started getting late, we walked outside together. The rain had stopped, but the streets still glistened under the city lights. She hesitated for a second, then asked, "Hey, I know it's kind of random, but do you wanna hang out again sometime? I'd love to catch up more." I didn't even have to think. Yeah, I'd really like that. And when we said goodbye, when I watched her walk away down the street, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not the desperate, clinging kind, but real hope, the kind that feels like maybe, just maybe, life isn't done surprising you yet. It's strange how someone can walk back into your life and make everything feel a little less heavy. After I bumped into Lily that day, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Not in the way I used to think about Emily, not obsessive, not desperate for attention or validation. This was different. She made me feel human again. The days after the next couple of days passed slower than usual. Work was just work. Same desk, same screens, same half-hearted conversations with coworkers who didn't know what I was going through, or worse, who knew just enough to awkwardly avoid the topic. But when my phone buzzed and I saw Lily's name, that was different. It wasn't like texting Emily. No shallow-wood messages, no dry lull or fake enthusiasm. Lily texted like she cared. "Lily, hey, there's this little food truck festival downtown this weekend. You in? I'm craving the worst street tacos imaginable." That made me smile like an idiot at my desk. Me? I'm in, but only if we both agree to rate them like dramatic food critics. Lily. Deal. Dress code is casual disaster. The first real laugh in a while. Saturday came faster than I expected. It wasn't a date, not officially, but, God, it felt better than any date I'd had in years. We met near the park. Lily waved at me with this big, goofy grin like we'd known each other forever. She wore a hoodie with some vintage band I didn't even know, ripped jeans, and beat-up Converse. Zero effort, and yet she looked better than anyone I'd ever chased. We walked from truck to truck, trying every questionable taco, burrito, and deep-fried whatever we could find. We joked about opening our own taco truck and naming every item something ridiculous like emotional damage enchiladas, gaslight guacamole, red flag fajitas. She laughed so hard at one point she snorted, and it was perfect, real, unfiltered. God, I didn't realize how much I missed real. The conversation I didn't expect after we were full of terrible decisions and possibly food poisoning. We sat on a park bench watching the city buzz around us, and then Lily asked the question I wasn't expecting. "So, do you hate her?" Emily. The name still stung. I thought about it for a while. "I don't know if I hate her," I finally said. "I hate what she did. I hate how small it made me feel. But, I don't know. Hate feels like giving her too much space in my head." Lily nodded like she understood. "You know, people always talk about heartbreak like it's some grand explosion. But sometimes it's just slow erosion. You don't even notice how much of yourself you gave away until there's barely anything left." That hit hard. Harder than I wanted it to. "Yeah," I whispered. "That's exactly what it felt like." A moment of honesty. We sat there in comfortable silence for a while, and then she said something that changed me. "For what it's worth, I think you're stronger than you realize, Aunt. Whoever ends up with you next, they're gonna be lucky to have someone who knows what real love is supposed to look like." I didn't know what to say. Nobody had told me that, not once, not since everything fell apart. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I believed maybe, just maybe, I could be enough for someone again. Leaving with something new again. When we finally said goodbye that night, it wasn't awkward. There wasn't that pressure to force anything. But as we hugged, just friends, nothing more. I noticed the way she lingered for half a second longer than necessary, and I felt something shift, something real, something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. But this time, it wasn't fragile. It wasn't built on illusions. It was built on laughter, on real moments, on tacos and bad jokes, on being seen for who I actually was. Not a project, not a placeholder, but me. The thing about healing, it doesn't happen all at once. It's not some grand, cinematic moment where everything falls into place and the pain just vanishes. It happens slowly, quietly, in small, ordinary moments that don't seem life-changing until they are. And for me, those moments kept happening with Lily. New routine, New peace. We didn't jump into anything. There were no grand gestures, no late-night confessions of love. It was coffee runs, random memes sent at 2 a.m., songs shared over Spotify, little things that didn't ask for anything in return. And that's what saved me. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to perform for someone. I didn't have to prove my worth. I didn't have to be enough. With Lily, just existing was okay. The night everything felt different. One Friday night, after a particularly hellish week at work, I found myself sitting on my couch, staring at the blank TV screen. That old familiar weight tried to settle back in. The loneliness, the doubt, the ghost of who I used to be with Emily. Yeah, the guy always walking on eggshells, trying to hold something together that had already fallen apart. And then my phone buzzed. Lily. Hey, are you home? I hesitated for half a second. Me? Yeah, Lily. Cool. I'm coming over. I have snacks and terrible movies. I smiled, really smiled, not because I needed saving, but because someone wanted to be there, without asking for anything. A safe place I didn't know I needed. 20 minutes later, she showed up at my door, messy bun, oversized hoodie, carrying 2 bags, one with chips, candy, and soda. The other, a stack of the worst-rated horror movies she could find. Tonight, she said dramatically, we suffered together, and we did. We made fun of bad acting, critiqued ridiculous plot holes, laughed until our sides hurt, and when the third movie ended long past midnight, we just sat there in the quiet glow of the TV. No pressure, no awkward tension, just peace. The conversation that hit different. I missed this, I admitted quietly. She turned her head toward me. What's this? Feeling like myself, I said. Just being around someone and not feeling like I'm failing some unspoken test. Her eyes softened. She didn't rush to fill the silence, didn't minimize what I said. She just nodded. You were never failing, Ryan, she said softly. You were just giving parts of yourself to someone who didn't know how to take care of them. That hit harder than I wanted it to, because it was true. I wasn't broken. I was just tired, exhausted from carrying a relationship alone. The moment I didn't want to end eventually. She yawned and stretched. I should probably head out, she said reluctantly. But I didn't want her to leave, not in some desperate, clingy way. Just, I didn't want the quiet comfort to end. You can stay, I found myself saying before I could overthink it. If you want. She hesitated, searching my face for something, then smiled. Okay. We stayed on the couch, side by side, watching whatever garbage late-night TV had to offer, and eventually she fell asleep, right there, curled up next to me, and I sat there in the dim light, looking at her, not like someone I needed to chase or impress, but like someone who made the silence feel like home. A shift I couldn't deny. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was overthinking for once, but because I realized something terrifying and beautiful all at once. I was falling for her, not fast, not recklessly, but deeply, slowly. The kind of love that isn't fireworks in chaos. The kind of love that's a slow-burning candle in the dark, constant, safe, real. Falling for Lily didn't feel like falling at all. It felt like walking, step by step, no rush, no fear of crashing, just steady, quiet movement towards something real, something I didn't even know I deserved. The morning after everything changed. When I woke up that morning, Lily was still asleep on the couch. The sunlight was sneaking through the blinds, catching in the little strands of her hair. She looked peaceful, safe. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to break the moment. But life moves, whether you're ready or not. Eventually, she stirred, stretching like a cat waking from a nap. Her eyes found mine, still a little hazy from sleep. Morning, she whispered, her voice rough in that adorable just woke up way. I smiled. Morning. And in that moment, something shifted. An unspoken understanding passed between us. We weren't just friends anymore. Not really. The days that followed after that night, things didn't get complicated. They got clearer. We hung out more often. But it wasn't forced. She'd drop by after work with takeout. I'd send her stupid memes during boring meetings. She'd tell me about the weird customers at her bookstore job. I'd vent about corporate nonsense. We existed in this comfortable bubble, and every time she smiled at me like I mattered, every time she touched my arm without thinking about it, every time we laughed until we couldn't breathe, it pulled me in deeper. My first real fear but falling for someone after being broken, it's terrifying. There were moments I caught myself overthinking. What if I wasn't ready? What if I messed this up? What if I still wasn't enough? I remember sitting on my bed one night, staring at my phone, drafting a text I didn't send. Me, hey, I need to tell you something. I think I'm falling for you, and I'm scared. I stared at it for 10 minutes, then deleted it, because deep down, I didn't want this to be a confession over text. If I was going to tell her, I wanted to do it right, face to face, real. The moment I almost lost my nerve one Friday night, we ended up at our usual coffee shop, the same one where we ran into each other weeks ago. It was quieter than usual. We sat by the window, sipping drinks and people watching, and I knew I had to say it, but as I opened my mouth, the heart racing, palms sweaty, she looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said something that stopped me dead. You know, I've been scared too. I froze. Scared of what? I asked carefully. She bit her lip, looking nervous for the first time in forever. Scared of losing this, she whispered. Scared of crossing a line and ruining what we have. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel something more. My heart did something I can't describe, like a dam breaking quietly inside me. The words that finally came out, I reached across the table, not grabbing her hand, not forcing anything, just resting my fingers near hers. I've been feeling the same way, I admitted, for a while now. And yeah, I'm scared too, but I'd rather risk it than wonder what could have been. She smiled, a small, soft, real, and she slid her hand into mine. No fireworks, no dramatic music, just warmth, connection, real, the beginning of something new. We didn't kiss that night, we didn't need to. That moment, hand in hand, hearts on the table, was more intimate than anything else could have been. We walked out of the coffee shop side by side, not as friends playing it safe, not as strangers afraid of the past, but as two people, scarred, healing, learning, willing to try, willing to believe that maybe, just maybe, love isn't about grand gestures. Maybe it's about choosing each other, every day, quietly, steadily, real. Starting over isn't like flipping a switch. There's no clean break between your past and your future. The past lingers. It shows up in quiet moments, in the way you hesitate before trusting, in the way your heart braces for disappointment, even when things feel good, especially when things feel good. That's what falling for Lily was teaching me. Real love isn't loud, it's patient. It waits for you to catch your breath. Our first official date after that night at the coffee shop, after we finally admitted how we felt, things didn't explode into romance overnight. It stayed simple, intentional. A couple of days later, she texted me, Lily, okay, I'm ready for this, but only if you agree to let me pick the first date. Me, deal. What's your plan, Lily? Absolute chaos. She wasn't kidding. A date I never expected. Most people would have chosen a fancy restaurant, some trendy spot with mood lighting and overpriced drinks. Not Lily. She picked mini golf, of all things, a weird little outdoor place just outside the city with neon lights, tacky decorations, and the worst pop music blasting from old speakers. It was perfect. She met me in the parking lot wearing a hoodie with a giant cartoon dinosaur on it and a mischievous grin. This, she declared, is a judgment-free zone. All competitiveness stays in the car. Spoiler alert. We were both ridiculously competitive. The best kind of stupid fun. We trash-talked like we were in a championship tournament. She accused me of cheating when I got a hole-in-one. I accused her of bribing the wind. We laughed until we couldn't breathe. People stared. We didn't care. And when we finished tied, because we're apparently both very stubborn, we grabbed ice cream from a truck nearby and sat on the curb like teenagers. Sticky fingers, melting cones, smiles that wouldn't leave. The conversation that meant everything. Somewhere between finishing our ice cream and watching the sun start to set, we got quiet, comfortable quiet, and then she asked a question I didn't expect. What scares you the most? Brian, I thought about it. Not surface-level fear, not spiders or heights, but real fear, being a second choice. I admitted quietly, being loved only until something better comes along. She didn't flinch, didn't say you're being dramatic or that'll never happen. She just nodded. I get that, she said. My biggest fear, loving someone who doesn't know how to stay. That hit me right in the chest, because that's what Emily had done. She didn't stay, not when things got hard, not when I needed her most. But here was Lily A sitting beside me A, not promising perfection, not promising forever, just promising now and sometimes. That's even better. A moment I'll never forget. As we stood up to leave, she hesitated, then, without rushing, without pressure, she reached up and brushed a thumb against my cheek. You're not a second choice to me, she whispered. And then finally she kissed me. Soft, warm, certain. Not like I was fragile, not like I was broken, but like I was hers, and she was mine. Not because we needed to fill a void, but because we chose each other. Going home with a full heart, I drove home that night feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Whole, not fixed because I didn't need fixing, not saved because I had saved myself first, but full of hope, of peace, of Lily. And I knew deep down this was only the beginning. Real love doesn't heal all wounds, but it gives you the space to heal them yourself, with someone by your side who's willing to stay through all of it. Falling in love after heartbreak isn't like the movies. It's not always fireworks. It's not always grand gestures or perfect dates. Real love shows up in the small stuff, in late night talks, in awkward moments, in learning over and over that someone is choosing you. Even on the hard days. That's what being with Lily felt like. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. The quiet days meant the most. Somewhere along the way, we slipped into this easy rhythm. Coffee in the mornings, random texts during the day, cooking dinner together, usually a disaster, always a memory. Sometimes we stayed in watching dumb documentaries or falling asleep on the couch halfway through a movie. Sometimes we went out long drives with no destination, singing badly to old songs on the radio. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't Instagram perfect, but it was real, and it was exactly what I needed. The first real test, but love even the good kind gets tested. Ours did too. It started small. A Friday night, we were supposed to meet at my place. I was running late from work, stuck in traffic. Phone blowing up with messages from my boss about some last-minute project. By the time I got home, exhausted and frustrated, Lily was already there sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She smiled when she saw me, but I didn't have it in me to smile back. I'm sorry, I muttered. Work's a nightmare. She stood up, walking over. It's okay, I figured you'd be. But I cut her off, not because I was mad at her, but because I was mad at the world, mad at my job, mad at the way life sometimes just piles up. I just need a minute, okay? I said sharper than I meant to, and I saw it, that flicker in her eyes, that tiny flinch. My heart dropped. The fear of old patterns. I hated myself in that moment, not because I yelled I hadn't, but because I knew what that look meant. That's what Emily used to do, shut down, push away. And God, the last thing I ever wanted was for Lily to feel like she wasn't safe here. I sat down on the edge of the bed, running my hands through my hair. I'm sorry, I said, barely above a whisper. That wasn't fair. You didn't deserve that. She sat down beside me, not too close, not too far. I know you didn't mean it, she said softly. But I need you to remember, I'm not her, and you're not him. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt this wave of guilt and relief crash over me all at once. I know, I whispered. That's why I'm scared sometimes, because I care so much. It freaks me out. She smiled, tired but kind. Same here. Learning how to fight the right way that night was important, not because it was dramatic, not because it ended in a perfect resolution, but because it showed us something. Love isn't about never messing up. It's about what you do after. It's about owning your mistakes, apologizing without ego, choosing to stay, choosing to try. And we did. The little things that built us after that night. We got better at talking, better at noticing the little signs, better at giving each other space when needed without shutting the other person out. Lily had this way of grounding me. When I spiraled, she stayed calm. When she overthought, I reminded her I wasn't going anywhere. We weren't perfect, but we didn't need to be. The moment I knew she was it, weeks later, we were lying on the floor of her tiny apartment, candles lit, music playing softly in the background. I was staring at the ceiling, rambling about something stupid, probably work or my terrible cooking skills, and she was just looking at me, smiling in that quiet, knowing way of hers. "You know," she whispered, "I'm really glad you didn't settle for someone who didn't see you." I looked over at her, a heart swelling in a way I couldn't control, and I knew this wasn't temporary. This wasn't a rebound. This wasn't filling a space someone else left behind. This was real. This was home. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't afraid of that. Falling in love is easy. Staying in love, that's where the real work begins. Because eventually, the newness fades, the butterflies settle, and what's left is two people, with all their scars, habits, fears, choosing each other every single day. That's what it started to feel like with Lily. Not a perfect love story, not some fairy tale, but real life. Messy, ordinary, beautiful. Ours, meeting the family, ready or not. It happened about 3 months after our first real date. Lily was over at my place, eggs tucked under her, scrolling through her phone, when my mom called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but then Lily smiled at me, teasing, "What's wrong? Afraid to tell your mom about me?" I laughed, but there was truth in it. Meeting the family, that's a whole new level. But I answered, and somehow, without thinking, I said the words I didn't expect to say yet. "Yeah, Mom, I've been seeing someone." I looked over at Lily, her eyes met mine, soft, hopeful, and that's when I knew I wanted her in every part of my life. Not just in the quiet moments, but in all of them. The loud ones, the messy ones, the ones that meant more. The dinner that felt different. We planned dinner with my parents for the following weekend. Simple, casual, but I was nervous. Not because I thought Lily wouldn't fit in, but because I wanted them to love her the way I did. When we got there, my mom greeted us at the door with her usual energy. But when she hugged Lily, I saw it, that little spark of connection. Like my mom already knew, like she saw something in Lily that made her soften. A different kind of conversation. Dinner wasn't forced. It wasn't full of awkward silences or polite small talk. Lily was her usual self, funny, kind, asking my dad about his weird hobbies, genuinely listening to my mom's endless stories. And me, I just sat there, watching, realizing, this was it. This was what peace felt like. Having someone who fit into your life without trying to change it. Someone who added to it, effortlessly, naturally. The quiet ride home that night, as I drove her back to her apartment, Lily looked over at me. "They're amazing," she said quietly. "You're amazing," I replied. She blushed, something she did more often than she realized, and then she reached over, lacing her fingers through mine. "You know, I never had this," she whispered. The whole being brought into someone's family thing. My heart ached, not out of pity, but out of love. Real love, the kind that wants to give someone everything they never had, and everything they never thought they deserved. The next step I didn't plan. Later that night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep, not because I was overthinking, but because I was sure in a way I never had been before. I wanted her in my life, for real, not just in passing, not just for a season, but for the long haul. Not because I was afraid to be alone, but because she made me feel more myself than I ever had. She made me feel like coming home. Life isn't perfect, but it's real. Over the next few weeks, life didn't suddenly turn into a fairy tale. We still had bad days, still argued about stupid things, still got tired and stressed and frustrated. But the difference? We talked, we laughed, we stayed, and somewhere between the late night talks, the shared meals, the quiet mornings with coffee, I realized I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore. I wasn't bracing for heartbreak. I wasn't holding back. I was in, all the way. I don't know the exact moment it happened. The moment when Lily stopped feeling like someone I was dating, and started feeling like home. Maybe it was slow. Maybe it was in the way she left little notes around my apartment. Maybe it was in the way she remembered every small thing I told her, even things I forgot I said. Or maybe it was just in the quiet, the ordinary days, where life wasn't perfect, but we had each other. And somehow, that was enough. Real life, Real love. We weren't flashy. We didn't post couple selfies every day. We didn't have matching outfits or overly planned dates. We had early mornings where she stole my hoodies, late nights eating cereal in bed because we burnt dinner again. We had inside jokes nobody else would understand, random Target runs that turned into mini adventures, arguments about who left the lights on, and the best part, we were real, not perfect, not performative, but real. And God, after everything I'd been through with Emily, real felt like heaven, facing our fears together. But even when love is good, a fear sneaks in. One night, we were sitting on the balcony of her apartment, city lights stretched out in front of us. Lily was curled up beside me, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. Out of nowhere, she whispered, "Do you ever worry this is too good to last?" It caught me off guard. Because, yeah, I did worry, not because I doubted her, but because I doubted life. Life had a way of ripping good things away from me. But I turned to her, took her hand in mine and told her what I should have told myself a long time ago. "I'm not scared of loving you, Lily. I'm scared of not trying hard enough to keep you. But I swear to you, I'm in this, for real, for good." She looked up at me, eyes soft, vulnerable, and she whispered back, "Me too." The future didn't scare me anymore after that night. Something changed. We started talking about the future more openly, not in a distant, hypothetical way, but in a real way. Like, hey, whose place would we move into eventually? Like, hey, what kind of dog would we get? Like, hey, where would we want to travel next summer? It wasn't forced. It wasn't rushed. It was natural. Like two people planning a life they both wanted together. The little moments that mattered most. She started leaving a toothbrush at my place. I cleared a drawer for her, not because she asked, but because it felt right. She left a hoodie at my apartment once, on purpose, I'm sure, and I caught myself wearing it when I missed her. We had Sunday mornings that felt like rituals. Coffee, music, talking about everything and nothing. Sometimes I'd catch her just looking at me, like she couldn't believe I was real. But what she didn't know, I looked at her the exact same way. The day I realized I couldn't imagine life without her, it was stupid. Really, just an ordinary Tuesday. She came over late after work, tired, makeup smudged, hair messy. I was already half asleep on the couch. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and crawled in beside me without saying a word. I wrapped my arms around her. She sighed, content, safe, and in that moment, I just knew this was it. This was my person. Not because life was perfect, not because we were flawless, but because in a world that felt so unstable, she was my constant, my peace, my home. It's strange how life works, how the things that break you as a broken bar eventually lead us to the things that save us. If you asked me years ago, back when I was with Emily, if I believed in real love via broken bar, I probably would have laughed. I thought love was effort, sacrifice, endless proving of your worth to someone who was already halfway out the door. But Lily, she showed me something different. Love wasn't supposed to be exhausting. It was supposed to feel like peace, like home. A year later, it had been a year since that first night we ran into each other at the bookstore. A year of healing, of learning, of building something from scratch, something neither of us had ever had before. A relationship without games, without conditions, without fear of being too much or not enough. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that made it everything. The surprise I never expected to plan. I'm not the grand gesture type, not anymore, not after everything I went through, but I wanted to do something for Lily, something real, not flashy, not for social media, something that was just for us. I spent weeks putting it together, little notes hidden in all our favorite spots, inside her favorite book at the bookstore where we met, under her mug at our coffee shop, inside the hoodie she always stole from me. Simple words, real words, things I never said enough. You make the hard days easier. You made me believe in love again. You're my favorite chapter. The final note, the final step. The last note was waiting for her on my apartment door. It simply said, "Come inside. I have something to ask you." She found me standing in the living room. No fancy setup, no candles, just me, just her. And when she looked at me, I saw it. Every moment we survived, every scar that turned into a lesson, every laugh that stitched me back together, every ordinary day that became extraordinary because she was in it. I didn't get down on one knee, that wasn't us. I just walked over, took her hand, and said the words that mattered most: "Move in with me." Her eyes welled up instantly, and for a second, I thought maybe I messed up, maybe she was expecting something bigger. But then she laughed through her tears. "This," she whispered, "is bigger than any ring or promise." She threw her arms around me, held me like she never wanted to let go. And for the first time in my life, I knew I had someone who didn't want to. The final lesson: love isn't about grand moments. It's not about chasing butterflies forever. It's about choosing someone, every day. Even when life is messy, even when it's hard. It's in the quiet mornings, the tired hugs after long days, the stupid inside jokes nobody else gets. It's in knowing someone sees you, all of you, and stays. Lily wasn't the person I thought I'd end up with. She was better. She was real. She was home. And I'll spend the rest of my life choosing her, over and over, without hesitation, without fear, without doubt. Because home isn't a place, it's a person. And I finally found mine. The end.